Hello everyone, welcome back to a new post today, and let's continue with the most important topics that you need to follow with regard to paper 3 TSPSC Group 1 mains examination. Today let's look at the chapter, the unit, the unit social exclusion, vulnerable group, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, backward classes, minorities, women, children, aged and disabled. So India is a welfare state, and inclusive development is the goal of every government that comes to the center and the state as well, because development has to be equally distributed among all the people irrespective of caste, religion, background, economic background, etc. And if you see, we have different types of people in our society based on the backwardness, that is economic backwardness, and also your caste basis. So caste can be a form of backwardness. This was said by the Supreme Court of India itself. And we have certain divisions in the society of India, that is, they are called as the scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, whose census is given by the decennial census that is conducted by the government of India. And apart from them, we have certain vulnerable sections also, like minorities, women, children, aged and the disabled. In this post, I'll be covering only few topics, and rest of them I'll be covering tomorrow. So today let's look at the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes. They are the officially designated group of people among the most disadvantaged socially economic groups in India, and these terms are recognized by the Constitution of India itself. We see the Constitution of India speaking about them in Article 15 and 16, Directive Principles of the State Policy, and other we have certain specific commissions for the welfare of the section as well. Now, these terms are recognized by the Constitution under Article 341 and 42, and much of the period of the British rule in Indian subcontinent, they were called as the depressed classes under the Government of India Act 1935. Now, the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes constitute about 16.6 and 8.6% respectively of the India's population, and this is according to the 2011 census. The Constitution, they are specified by the President of India. The castes that are included under the scheduled caste and the tribes that are included under the scheduled tribes are specified by the President based on the constitutional scheduled caste and the scheduled tribes order of 1950, and recently certain tribes from Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand and Odisha have been included in the scheduled caste list. We look at their names as well. So the Constitution Scheduled Caste Order 1950 lists about 1108 castes across 28 states as scheduled castes, and the Constitution Scheduled Tribe Order 1950 lists 744 tribes across 22 states as scheduled tribes. Now let me tell you that the President has the power to release these constitutional orders specifying the castes that come under the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe which are state specific, and this is specified under Article 341 and 342 of the Constitution. So since independence, the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe are given reservations guaranteeing political representation, preference and promotion, quota in universities, free stipend, education, scholarship, banking, promotion, etc. And the Constitution lays down the general principle of positive discrimination for SC and STs, and the steps taken by the Government of India trace their root to the Constitution provisions as well. Constitution provision. Now, as per Article 366 clause 24, it says that the scheduled castes are defined as those castes, races and tribes. You need to remember these definitions. So the caste, race or tribe, part of the groups within such caste, race or tribe that are deemed under the Article 341 to be scheduled caste for the purpose of this Indian Constitution. As per Article 366 clause 25 of the Constitution of India, scheduled tribes are defined as such tribes or tribal communities, parts of groups within such tribes or tribal communities that are deemed as per Article 342 of the as scheduled tribes for the purpose of this Constitution. Now, as I told you, 341 and 342 specify the definition of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. It only says that the President may, with respect to every state and union territory, after consultation of the governor of the state, specify the caste, races, tribes or parts of groups within the caste, races or tribes for the Constitution of India to be included under the list of the scheduled castes and the scheduled tribes. So this is what Article 341 and 342 say. Now, the President of India notifies the specific castes and the tribes that come under the scheduled caste category and the scheduled tribe category for every state and union territory separately, and and it is a dynamic list that keeps changing. There can be exclusions and inclusions as well. There are certain certain arrangements taken by the Government of India and the state for the welfare of the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe. Certain protective arrangements are taken to protect these communities. So apart from the general laws under for violence, for crime, that is under the CRPC, IPC and the Civil Code, also you have certain certain laws that are specific for this community which protect their rights. For example, you have the Scheduled Caste, Scheduled Tribe Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Then you have the Untouchability Practices Act of 1955. You have the Employment of Manual Scavengers, Construction of Dry Latrines Prohibition Act 1993, and there are certain legislations for the protection of these communities. Article 338 and 338A provide for two commissions, that is the National Commission for Scheduled Caste and the National Commission for Scheduled Tribe, to look into the welfare of these communities. There is also affirmative action apart from the protection action. The affirmative action includes a reservation which is protected under Article 16 of the Constitution for Scheduled Castes and Scheduled Tribes, and also developmental action is taken to reduce the gap, the socio-economic gap between the other sections of the society and also the Scheduled Castes and the Scheduled Tribes. For example, like you have for education purposes, you have schemes like pre and post matric scholarship for the Scheduled Caste and the Scheduled Tribe. You have a dedicated finance and development corporation called as the National Scheduled Caste Finance and Development Corporation. If you look at the scheduled tribes, recently the government has decided to celebrate November 15 as the Janjatiya Gaurav Divas, and also the president as celebrating the birth anniversary of Birsa Munda. Now, under Article 275 of the Indian Constitution, grants are released to 26 states having ST population for raising the level of administration in the scheduled areas. So, to protect the rights of the scheduled tribes, we have the 5th schedule and the 6th schedule areas which give them certain specific special rights and also extra rights with regard to administration of those areas and protecting the customs. Also, many of the northeastern states which have a very rich tribal population are also given special rights and powers under the Article 371 clauses until 371H. So this is these are the constitutional provisions. There is a Pradhan Mantri Adarsh Gram Yojana for holistic development of tribal villages, post and pre-matric scholarship schemes even for the scheduled tribes on par of the scheduled caste as well. Recently, the tribes of the Bogta, the Gangu, Daulatbandi, the Patbandi, the Raut, the Manjia, the Kariya, these have been included into the constitutional schedule caste order of 2022. From Tripura, we have the Darlong, which is a sub-tribe of the Kuki, which was added to the scheduled tribe list of Tripura. In Uttar Pradesh, we have the Gond, Durya, Nayak, Oja, Pathari, Rajgond in the districts of Sant Kabir Nagar, Kushinagar, Chandoli districts, which were included into the scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe order of 2022. So definitely this can be a very important question, because recently many of the tribes and castes were added into the constitution scheduled caste and the scheduled tribe order. And where from this power comes? These powers come from Article 366, that is specifically 341 and 342, and these are state and union territory specific, and they are dynamic, they keep changing. The castes and the tribes can be included and excluded as well. You also have a national fellowship and scholarship scheme for higher education for the scheduled tribe students, national overseas scholarship for the scheduled tribe students to study abroad. You have the development of the particularly vulnerable tribal group. They have certain criteria which is different from the criteria of the scheduled tribes. You need to know that, and you also need to know their names as well. Also with regard to the states that they are found in. You have the Vandan Vikas Karikramam, which is a training and development program for value chain components of the scheme. Especially now the tribal Ministry of Tribal Affairs at the center is marketing the minor forest produce and also supporting the tribes through a minimum support price for these minor forest produce as well. And recently the government has Government of India has specified the following goals that I'm reading out now as a goal for the 5 years, that is from 2019 and 2023 for the scheduled tribes. These are providing post-metric scholarship scheme, national overship scholarship scheme for the scheduled tribe, national fellowship and scholarship for higher education for scheduled tribe. Then you have the grants and aids to the voluntary organization who look into the welfare of the scheduled tribes, strengthening of education among the scheduled tribe girls in low literacy districts, development of the particularly vulnerable tribal groups, grants under Article 275 of the Constitution of India, special central assistance to the tribal sub-schemes, grants and aids to the tribal research institutions, institutional support for development and marketing of tribal products and produce, support to the national and state tribal finance and development corporation. Minor forest produce have been provided for MSPs now, and there is a mechanism for marketing them so that they can enter the value chain, and also research, information, mass education and tribal festival and others are being promoted on a wide range. So recently the Bhagwan Birsa Munda Tribal Freedom Fighters Museum was inaugurated in Jharkhand. If you look at there is another museum called as Rani Gaidenlu Tribal Feeders Museum that was inaugurated by Home Minister Amit Shah in Manipur. And now with regard to traditional medicine, India is going to have a summit on traditional medicine and also open a traditional medicine institute in cooperation with WHO in Gandhinagar. And so this is a boost again to traditional medicine, especially where the tribals can play a large part in this. Apart from that, we have the backward classes. So there is nowhere in the constitution where the OBCs is mentioned. This term has been specified as social economic backward classes. So the OBCs were found to be about 52% of the country's population by the Mandal Commission, which is the second backward classes commission report in 1980, and they were determined to be 41% in 2006 by the National Sample Survey Organization that took the survey. OBCs are entitled to 27% of reservation in public sector employment and higher education. The rest of the OBCs is maintained by the Centre, by the Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment. It is dynamic, with the castes and the communities being added and removed depending upon the social, education and economic factors. Under Article 340, Indian Constitution makes it obligatory for the government to look into the welfare of the OBCs. The first Backward Classes Commission was established in 1953 under the chairmanship of Kaka Kalilkar, and it submitted a report in 1955. At that time, it prepared a list of 2,399 backward classes or communities for the entire country, of which 839 were classified as the most backward. And the second Backward Classes Commission was constituted in 1979. It is called as the BP Mandal or the Mandal Commission, which submitted its report in 1980 and stated that the population of the OBCs is about 52%. The number of the backward classes was counted as 3,743 in the initial report, which was submitted in 1980. Another very important case with regard to OBCs is the Indira Saune versus Union of India case in 1992. Now, this case laid down the limit on the state's powers for providing reservation and said that the ceiling of 50% to quotas and emphasized social backwardness and prescribed certain 11 indicators to ascertain what exactly is backwardness, and this is very important. Recently, the chairman for the National Commission for Backward Classes, you need to know the composition and the powers of this commission as well, along with the National Commission for Scheduled Castes and the Scheduled Tribes. So Hansraj Gangaram Mahir was selected as a chairperson for the National Commission for Backward Classes. The Commission for Other Backward Classes recently was appointed by Justice G. Rohini. So the G. Rohini Commission for Backward Classes subcategorization. The commission, it's a very recent commission, recently submitted a report. So therefore you need to remember the terms of reference as well. It has been entrusted with the task to study the various entries in the central list of OBCs and recommend correction of any repetitions, ambiguities, inconsistencies, errors of spelling or transcription, and to examine the extent of inequitable distribution of benefits of reservation among the OBCs, and to work out the mechanism, criteria, norms, parameters in a scientific approach for subcategorization of the OBCs. The other backward classes is a very collective term used by the Government of India to classify the castes which are educationally and socially backward, and they are also spoken of in Article 15 and 16 as well. So this is a very brief about what you need to follow with regard to the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and the backward classes. Please do not forget to remember the criteria, especially with regard to the particularly vulnerable tribal group, scheduled caste, and nomadic and semi-nomadic and denotified tribes as well. And I shall see you with the remaining topics in my next post. Until then, it's very happy learning.